it's on the agenda. It's on the agenda for action, and people will see that, and they can come and make comment, and one opponent did make a comment in opposition. That's their right. And maybe we have another. So that's the process. You've heard multiple other people give their opinions, and so we'll move to public comment, and you can make your comments.
Sure.
The chair will yield 3 minutes to Tim Howe, the gentleman from Wakanda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my comments go to the agreement itself. I come from a whole family of first responders. I had family members that were within 48 hours at the 9/11 site doing recovery operations. I think my involvement with the veterans groups in this town goes without saying. But I do have some concerns with the agreement, and Rudy will tell you if you put 2 lawyers in a room, you'll get 3 opinions. So I want to kind of clear up who the because the agreement refers to an owner of the artifact, and it refers to the owner as the Heroes of Freedom, a subsidiary of the PFC Jeffrey Morris Memorial Foundation. Now, I always tell all of my clients, the first thing you do when you enter into a contract with somebody is make sure you've properly identified the contracting parties. I went and looked up today, because this stuff wasn't available until today on the village website, so the earliest I could look. The PFC Jeffrey Morris Memorial Foundation was dissolved by the state of Illinois in 2013. They stopped apparently filing their annual reports in 2012, and their 501c3 status was also revoked. So I don't know who we're contracting with. So that's the first issue. We need to really clear that up and find out who the owner is, because the owner has certain obligations throughout this agreement, as does the village. And I want to make sure we get this clear, because if the owner doesn't exist, all of these costs that it says the owner will bear in this agreement fall back on the village. There are some indemnification provisions in section 9.1 of the agreement. How are we paying for those indemnifications? Under 9.3 and 10.1, it allows for the owner, at the owner's expense, to remove, repossess, all manner of things at the owner's expense. Well, if the owner doesn't exist, who's paying those expenses? If there's a problem, who do we turn to? 4.3 requires the village to perform the routine maintenance, but we perform it out of donated funds. So I'd like to see some provision, perhaps to set up some sort of a continuing endowment fund before we go forward with this, so we know that the money is going to be there for the future to cover all of the expenses associated with this. I know there's some urgency in getting it approved today, so the construction can be completed and dedication happened on September 11th, 2015. But I think this agreement, particularly given the status of what is recited to be anyway the owner, that those need to be cleared up before the board votes on this. Those are my concerns. I think this agreement needs some clarification and some work. We've got to find out who we're actually dealing with. What is the Port Authority the owner? Is Mr. Morris the owner now that his foundation has been dissolved? I don't know. Okay. So we need to get that clarified. So I really think it's premature to vote tonight, just for that reason.
Okay, I can clarify that for you actually, because this was brought to my attention. So again, I looked it up on the Illinois Attorney General's website as well. Given the documents that were provided from the Heroes of Freedom, and their clarification was given by Kirk himself to point out that they had 2 groups that were in question here. One they let lapse, and the other one they did not. So I believe that's where the confusion comes in. And the naming of it from the Illinois Attorney General's office is Freedom Farm for Vets, PFC Jeffrey Morris, Heroes of Freedom. And again, the same from the federal is the same name. Freedom Farm for Vets, PFC Jeffrey Morris, Memorial, Heroes of Freedom Memorial. So that is the clarification. It does exist. It is a 501c3, and they are in good standing with an account of $15,000, I think, currently. So we did do that piece of it, and I did verify it again today to make sure it was correct. So that part
is not in the agreement, Mr. Mayor.
So that part we can easily adjust to just the Heroes of Freedom, which is what we're referring to here, and we're going to adjust this to the Freedom Farm for Vets. But really, the Heroes of Freedom is the group that we're going to do business as, and really really the 501 C3 aspects of it are not relative to who's the custodian for the beam, which is what our concern is anyway.
Well, we have the certificate, I received this today, signed by, or I should say stamped by Lois Lerner, from the IRS, Freedom Farm for Vets, PFC Jeffrey Morris. It's a certificate of standing as a 501c3. So then I went into CyberDrive, Secretary of State's office, and it is an active corporation, Freedom Farm for Vets. So that's all that needs, because it's mentioned, the owner's name is mentioned once, and then it's defined as owner thereafter. So just a slight correction on that first paragraph, and we're good to go.
But there's still been conflicting information as to who the owner is. Is Mr. Morris's foundation the owner, or is the Port Authority the owner?
Well, the Port Authority,
And if there are conditions attached to it, where's the warrants and representations from the foundation that they have the authority to enter into this contract governing the disposition and display of the artifact? I just want to make sure that because Gurney was involved in this litigation, I want to make sure this agreement is done right.
that wasn't over the ownership of the beam, that was over improvements to a lot and quantum Merowith and those kinds of things. But